Okay, so it looks like this chapter pretty much ended the entire arc, or at the very least, this chapter ended a fight against the demon because we see Asta in the final page land what we can all assume is the final strike on the demon. Now, we don't actually see him actually strike the heart, which is pretty much the main focus. He has to destroy the demon's heart in order to actually kill the demon. But we can pretty much assume that Asta actually did land that final hit after everything that happened in this chapter and all the build up to it. So probably in the next chapter, we're probably going to see that he actually did land the attack on the heart. He's going to probably monologue for a little bit about some kind of like future event about how he's not like the last demon that's going to come after them. And then we'll probably have the chapter after that probably putting to bed the whole thing with the elves. Basically deciding whether or not we're going to keep the half elves, half human things going for now, or we're basically just going to let all the elves that were reincarnated in human bodies go back to heaven and rest, keeping probably only Patry alive, and possibly Charlotte. I'd like to see Charlotte stay. But yeah, assumingly this pretty much marks the end of the entire arc, which I'm happy that it's over because this arc has been going on for a long time now and I'm ready to get on to the next one. But at the same time, I'm a little bit disappointed because I actually had a whole bunch of expectations for the arc. Like, I was excited to see the Fauna versus Noelle fight, excluding Jack. I don't even care about Jack's part of it. I wanted to see Fauna versus Noelle because I wanted to see Noelle go up against a character who was at least, we could all assume, captain level. So I wanted to see her basically, rise to that occasion. I wanted to see exactly, so we can actually finally get a power level scaling for her. Because we know that she is strong, we know that she's possibly captain level, but I wanted to see if she actually had reached that point yet. And since this arc actually spent a lot of time basically developing a lot of characters who we grown to hate throughout the series, who have basically been seen to have prejudice against, commoners and Asta and everything like that, grow them into like actual developed characters, especially Noelle. Noelle actually had a huge turnaround in this entire arc, making him from the big brother that Noelle had that we all hated to basically being the one that actually seemingly actually cared about her the most. And I was actually kind of looking forward to seeing a scene where after Asta, Patry, all of them basically exhaust themselves against the demon, we get everyone in the kingdom, all the Magic Knights that are still alive, and all the elves that are still turned into elves, basically gang up on the demon together. But now that I think about it, and actually I've seen other people say this, it's better that we didn't get that in this arc because that is such a big event. That's such a like Avengers Endgame level moment that to get it this early in the series, especially when Yuki Tabata wants to go at least 700 chapters and we're only about 200 something in, to get that this early would be kind of a disservice to the entire arc or the entire series and to us fans, because if we were to get something like that, there would never be a moment that could actually top that. So let's save that towards the end. Let's save that to like the very last arc. We also get two color pages. Basically, the first color page is showing that Shonen Jump actually put Black Clover on the cover of this week's book, basically just showing Asta and Noelle at I'm guessing summer festival, basically to kick off the fact that summer has started officially, showing them at a festival watching the fireworks together. It's kind of cute. And then we get we get three color pages. We get that page, we get one more color page with Seke and Sekre, basically having like a little comedic act where they basically announced the fact that a new character ranking popularity ranking was announced. And we actually find out that obviously Asta was the number one. I'm not surprised by who was in the top 10, except for one character, and that's Charmy. I'm surprised Charmy made it into the top 10, and the fact that she made it as number 7 over Mimosa, who actually was ranked in at number 8. And I think that the only reason why Charmy actually beat her out in this popularity poll was simply because of the fact that we got her new transformation in this arc. And since the popularity poll was posted after the arc started and after that moment, I think that's literally the only reason why Charmy actually beat out Mimosa. Because usually I would put Mimosa, with the way fans feel about her, I would put her in the top 5 characters. But she didn't make it this time, seemingly just because of the fact that A, Charmy got a new transformation, so there's a big push for Charmy. And B, she didn't really do much in this entire arc. Like, Mimosa was kind of just like a side character. She was there to heal Asta here and there, but she didn't really have much of a role. Okay, so now hands down, the two main characters from this chapter were definitely Asta and Yami. Now, Yuno was there too. He was basically like the third main character, but you can kind of put his part aside because you could tell that Yuki Tabata was focusing mostly on Asta and Yami in this chapter. And I assume, like, I've seen other people say this. In fact, I think I even mentioned, like, I even showed a comment in my last video of people saying this in the comment sections of a website that I read chapters on. And basically, it's pretty clear that Yami is considered the main character. Like, it's Tabata Yuki pretty much considers Yami as like the main character he actually wants to write about, but Asta is the main character, so he has to have that spotlight. Because after everything that happens, because we get this moment where we see Yuno and Asta tag team on the demon. They both, play a flank move on him. They have Yuno coming in from the front, Asta coming in from the back. They manage to land both an attack on him, basically seemingly taking him out, but the demon actually ends up getting the upper hand when Asta loses his black form, and shows that he actually didn't get as damaged as they were hoping during that attack. They didn't manage to land a hit on the heart. And that's when we get Big Boss Yami showing up with his monozone dark dimensional / Nirvana, basically going from where he was, where him and Charlotte was, landing an attack all the way up to the demon, which assumedly, like at first I thought it wasn't that far of an attack. I thought that was something they could easily reach even without Charlotte's help. But looking at the way the panel laid out his attack, you can see just how far of a distance he actually had to go in order to land that attack on the demon. And you know what makes this moment even more amazing is the fact that we actually get to see Yami accomplish a feat that we haven't seen him do, at least as far as I can remember, we haven't seen him do up until this point. Because during the attack, he uses Mana Zone, which we have not actually seen Yami, as far as I can remember, use up until this point. Which is an amazing thing, because in this arc alone, they pretty much established that Mana Zone for the Magic Knights is basically something that only the elite of the elite can use. We've only seen a handful of people use it so far. We've seen Yuno use it during this arc. We've seen Mario Yona introduce it before the arc and use it a lot in this arc. We've seen Nozel use it, and now we've finally seen Yami use it. And you know what actually makes sense that he would get this feat in this chapter, because Yami's been kind of on the sidelines this entire time, even though he's basically one of the main three fighters in this fight against the demon. And we've seen Asa and Yuno both have new feats when they actually got their new modes, and they were up against the demon head to head, and were basically fighting on par with him, push him to the point where he was actually getting desperate. And now that they have had their feats, we get to see Yami accomplish his in this chapter. Also, I don't know if you guys noticed, but the kind of theme of this entire chapter was kind of support, which you could actually see from two angles, and this actually kind of goes into the idea that Yami and Asta were basically the main characters of this chapter, because we see basically them both get support from two separate characters. You see, when it comes to Asta, you see in the very first chapter, we see Sekre starting to support him, because she says she starts to feel bad about the fact that originally when she found Asta, she was just using him as a means to complete an end. Like, she basically had a goal that she wanted to complete, which was basically gathering the magic stones, and she was just going to use Asta as a way to do that. She didn't care about him, and she didn't believe in his dream. But after spending so much time with him and actually seeing how much he's struggling against the demon, how much he's putting up a fight against the demon, she's actually started to believe in his dream. And at the end of the chapter, she's the one who supported him after Asta basically loses his anti-magic form. She actually uses her healing magic to heal him enough so he can get one more attack in. He pushes past his limits, activates his form again, and then we see him land the final hit on the demon. And we also get a moment where we see Yuno earlier on in the chapter, when Asta is, he's starting to lose out of energy, he's starting to get to the point where he can't fight anymore. Yuno uses basically his whole rivalry to push Asta past his limits again in that moment, to get Asta to go for one more big attack, which is what the attack that the two of them actually end up landing on the demon. And then with Yami, we actually get to see two people supporting him as well. One's a through a flashback though, which is basically we get to see him and the Magic Emperor Julius, back when Julius was actually appointing him as the captain of the Black Bulls, where Yami himself doesn't believe that he actually should be, because he's a foreigner, and B, doesn't think he's ready to have that kind of responsibility. But Julius, on the other hand, tells him, no, you are ready. I've been watching you this entire time. You are a strong Magic Knight user. You're a strong Magic Knight. You're a strong person, and I believe you're capable of doing this. And I have 100% faith in you. And we actually get to see Charlotte, she doesn't actively support him. I mean, she supported him with her magic, as we saw in a few chapters ago, that she was basically going to use her magic to enhance his so that she can make sure he lands his attack right. But basically, she even in this chapter is starting to believe him, even though she thinks that him landing an attack against the demon from that far away is impossible. You can tell from her dialogue and her monologue in the chapter that she actually does somewhat believe that he might actually be able to pull it off. So yeah, now that the demon's pretty much been defeated, the only real things left in this arc to figure out is basically show off that the demon actually was defeated, to see that his heart actually was destroyed in the next chapter. B, figure out exactly what's going on with Lick and the first Magic Emperor, Lumiere. See if they're actually going to stick around, if they're going to go back to being dead. something like that. And I guess C, figure out exactly what's going to happen with all the humanized elves. Are the elves and humans going to, continue to share bodies kind of the way Patry and Vengeance have the entire series? Or are the elves going to go back to being dead, let the humans have their bodies back fully? Personally, I'd like to see the elves, or at least some of the elves, stay. Especially, like, all right, I like to see the elf that's sharing a body with Charlotte stay. There's a few characters who I actually like to see their elves stay. Not only because it would boost them in power, but because that would lead to interesting story moments for them later on in the series. But for the most part, yeah, that's pretty much all that happens in the chapter. That's pretty much all that's left to talk about for this arc. I can't wait to see what happens next week. See exactly what ends up happening with the demon. See if he actually puts forward some kind of like hint as to what's going on in the demon world, or like some other kind of big threat that's gonna be coming. But yeah, it's pretty much over the chapter. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you thought of the chapter, what you thought of this arc in general. And also let me know, since we actually had the character polls for this chapter, let me know exactly who would you put in your top 10 characters for the entire series. I can already think of my top 10. My top 10 actually pretty much goes the way the poll already went, except for I switch out a few characters, like I switched Charmy and Mimosa at the very least. Definitely keep the top 5 as they are. But let me know in the comment section down below how you guys feel about that. But that's pretty much it for the video. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, drop me a like, subscribe to the channel. I greatly appreciate it. Comment down below your thoughts and theories, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.